So good evening and namaste. Uh, Today I will be speaking about the breeding behavior of Indian grey hornbill. And Indian grey hornbill was my favorite bird and was my subject of my PhD thesis or dissertation. So let's begin uh, discussion about breeding behavior of Indian grey hornbill. This presentation is not a research paper. So what I have done is I have tried to remove all the statistics and try to make it a very simple and an enjoyable presentation. Rather, that's the purpose, so that we understand how the hornbills breed. Because the breeding biology of all the hornbills is different from all other birds. So instead of speaking on what hornbills we have and other things, let us go to our subject. That's the Indian grey hornbill only. So here, what I am trying to show is the sexual dimorphism. So all hornbills, generally, the male and female are different, and so they are sexually dimorphic. You can say the Indian grey hornbill, the casque is bigger and pointed, and the bill color is like black and white, whereas the female bill color is ivory colored or cream colored. You can say, and the suborbital skin of the male, that the skin around the eye, naked skin, is black, slightly pinkish. It's not seen here because only 1 year female. And hornbills are the birds which have, so not many birds have eyelashes. So that is also one important thing and a difference from a different thing about hornbills compared to other birds. And here I have shown a juvenile or a fledgling, you can see. So here you can see the pink suborbital skin in the female, skin in the male, and totally different suborbital skin in this fledgling. Okay, and it doesn't have the casque or the horn, which is there in the male, in the female, and it's not there in the juvenile. It takes 6 to 8 months for the casque to appear. And the bill is creamish. You can see the skin is dull pink here. Okay, so that is the difference. And this is the only hornbill, I will say, which is distributed throughout peninsular India or entire Indian Union, except the high altitude Himalayas, the Malabar region or the southern western Ghats, where the Malabar grey hornbill is found. So it has got complementary distribution. These two hornbill species don't occur in the same area. And previously it was not found in nearly on the dry parts of Rajasthan. Now some parts of Rajasthan also Indian grey hornbill is found because of the Indira Gandhi Nayar Canal. So the distribution has increased. So when you want to start a research, you must be having some questions on your mind. And when I wanted to do research on hornbill, I had a lot of questions in my mind, because when I referred to books, there was no information about Indian grey hornbill in the books, or there were not many research papers also. So my objectives, or what I wanted to find out, was the basic breeding behavior of Indian hornbill, even which was not known at that time. That was in 2007, 2010, 3 years. What is the incubation period? Even this was not known. How many chicks in one brood? Do the female molt all her feathers during incarceration? Of course, all these questions I cannot answer in this 1 hour presentation. So you can refer to my books, or you can refer to my research papers, which are on, all the research papers are available online. And what is the food? Are they vegetarian? Competition for nest, competition for food, competition for mate, and what is the social behavior? So we'll try to cover some of these aspects in this presentation today. And how do I get the answers? Yeah, because what I had was very basic equipment. One was like direct observation, what any bird watcher will do with Olympus binoculars. And I used to do video recording with a Sony Handycam, and still photography with just 375 to 300 mm zoom lens. And indirect evidence we decided to collect, and that was to collect excreta and midden from under every nest. Midden means whatever is lying under the nest you have to collect. That is known as midden. And collect data on fruiting phenology of the trees in the study area. So when they have fruits, so that we have to do throughout. Every fortnight you can do. And my study was conducted not in any forest, not in any wildlife sanctuary. It was conducted in Nagpur city in Maharashtra, where you can say it is an urban habitat with a lot of greenery and old gardens. So my major focus was the Maharajbagh garden in Nagpur, which is also a zoo. So this is the Arjuna tree, and this tree had a nest high up So what we did was we installed a net 10 feet by 10 feet exactly under the nest to collect whatever falls from the nest down. So this is our, like you are like, it's like you are spying on the birds. So whatever falls down, you analyze and you find out what's going on there. And then take observations. So I use time budgeting method. Time budgeting method is a method in which you take observations for every minute and then you analyze, like in 1 hour, how many times the hornbill visited the nest, like that, how many fruits were given, how many trips were done, sorties were done by the hornbills to the nest, like that. That is known as time budgeting, and then you have to analyze it. And then analyze the midden. So I used to collect midden from 6 nests and from roosts of the hornbills, take it home and dry it and then pack it in packets with proper dates. So for further analysis afterwards. And then analysis of the videos that we had those video cassettes at that time. Then I had to convert those video cassettes to CDs. Then I will watch and write down how many food items the hornbill has delivered to the nest, like that, and add that data to direct observations. Sometimes that help in confirming whether what I have observed is correct, because the video is a proof. One day we tried to insert a web camera into the hornbill's nest. So this web camera was operated by a small battery, and whatever was happening inside, we could see on this black and white TV screen. And there is a small web camera. So it was operated. We tried only one day, I think only few minutes, and then we decided not to do it because we were not really prepared for it, and we needed better technology to do that. So where were the nests? This is a highway in Nagpur, in Ravinagar area, which is also known as civil lines. This photograph is taken early in the morning, and the nest is here. Unfortunately, this is a forest officers colony, and this is the home of the judge of Supreme Court Nagpur. And I don't know why, but the municipal corporation Nagpur has cut this tree a few years back. So the hornbill nest is gone. So this is another nest on Albizia, and one more nest. This is a government premises where not many people visit, and very secluded place. There is one nest here. And then the Nagpur Maharaj Bagh. Inside the Maharaj Bagh, there is some area known as Children's Park. So there was one nest here, and the only point from where I will get a direct view of the nest was from under the tree or from behind this lady. So I have to sit with the video camera here and take video shots and then analyze later on, because I can't see what it is, what the hornbill is doing through the binoculars. The distance is too much. So how is the breeding cycle of hornbill completed? First thing, so we will discuss these things. So first, it starts with searching nest cavities, then courtship and mating, then nest preparation. Incarceration by the female means the female seals herself inside the nest cavity, and hornbills are known to breed inside tree cavities, only living trees. Then the female breaks out from the nest. Then the chick fledging is first the female comes out, and the last stage is the chicks coming out. Then feeding of the female, and then the chicks, and the breeding success. So these are the things we can have a look. So first thing is courtship. So courtship, at least it starts at least 3 months before the female goes into incarceration or seals herself. So what they do is the male and female go around in the area and visit various trees and look into potential nest cavities. Actually, the male guides the female and takes her to various nest cavities and shows her. So the male keeps inside the cavity, and later on the female also keeps inside the cavity. So they are both of them is in fact. And when this is going on, the male keeps feeding the female with a lot of fruits, and the fruits, especially the fruits were like figs, like banyan tree and people tree, or Ficus religiosa and Ficus bengalensis. These two types of fruits, the male always carries in its gular pouch, ready to give fruits all the time. And many times he also offers her some non-veg food like the calotes or the garden lizards. And what I was surprised to see that the male also offered inedible objects like mud pellets and pieces of bark. So he collected pieces of bark from nearby trees like neem tree or mango tree or mahogany and gave it to the female. And what happened is the female did not eat it. The female knows it's an inedible object. What she will do is she will juggle with it in the beak and she will crush it, and it becomes dust and it falls down. So I thought like it's a time pass, and the male was giving this as a gift, and she was accepting and every time breaking it. And then I observed mating. Most of the time, the mating of uh, happened near to the nest. That's around 100, maximum 100 meters away from the nest. And it always was preceded with courtship feeding. So the courtship feeding is going on, and the male mates. One very interesting thing about hornbill is she has to store all these sperms as she cannot come out for mating. In other birds, everyday mating happens, and every day one egg is laid. In hornbills, if she lays 5 eggs, so she has to store the sperms for all the 5 eggs only before she goes into concealment. And the courtship, during the courtship, there is one more thing, that is bill grappling. So they hold each other's beaks and pull very gently. So it's like kissing. It's not like fighting. So they pull each other's tail. And of course, sometimes what they do is they just pass on one food object. Like for example, the male brings a garden lizard. The female won't consume it. She will return it back. The male will return it back. So goes on. So that is also one of the courtship rituals. When the day of incarceration, but the female is sealing inside herself inside the nest cavity, she goes on reducing the feeding by herself or foraging, and spends more time in preening and basking in sunlight on the tree where the nest is there. And most feeding is done by the male. So this is one photograph where you can see the male here up. He has already inspected the cavity, and now the female is having a look at the cavity, potential for nest cavity. One more nest cavity which was accepted by the pair. So the male is here on the nest and the female is inquisitive. So one more, these are few more nest cavities. You can see the male ready with the food, for the female is always ready carrying food. Here the female is has already accepted the food. So the courtship breeding, nest cavity inspection, these things go on to simultaneously. So this is one photograph of bill grappling of male and female. So this is like kissing behavior. And here also the courtship feeding is going on. Fruits, lizards, sometimes the beetles and pieces of bark. These are the things which the male continuously feeds the female. So let us have a look at courtship, because I don't have very good quality videos. So that time I took some photographs in sport mode. So here you can see some movement. So if you go back again, so it's like that, dancing steps. So they do this, and it looks like it is symmetrical. So that is also one part of the courtship behavior in Indian grey hornbill. So what happens is the female starts entering the cavity and starts spending more and more time inside the cavity. When she enters the cavity, the male flies off and brings mud pellet, which is sticky, and delivers it to her inside the cavity. And she starts sealing the cavity with the help of her beak. She uses her beak like a mason and goes on putting layers and layers of soil or the mud. So here you can see the female is putting mud pellets inside. So that means both are bringing mud pellets and putting inside the cavity. So the female, when she sits inside, she will use that mud which she has already collected inside and starts sealing the nest cavity from inside. Not the male is not forcing, or the male is not sealing the nest cavity from outside. Sometimes it is considered that the male seals her in the nest cavity, or he forces her, but that is not true with any hornbill species. So the mud pellet again, now the male is seen delivering mud pellets, and in this nest you can see the female is already sealed inside the cavity, and only a slit, vertical slit is left, and through this slit the male is going to deliver all the requirements, fulfill all her requirements and all the requirements of the chicks, which will be born after a month, and he has to fulfill all of their requirements from outside, and she remains inside. And during courtship, one more thing happens is the nest cavity is cleaned of any debris, especially the nest cavity is generally occupied by other birds every time, like rose-ringed parakeets or common myna in Nagpur. So they just throw away their nesting material and put their own nesting material and occupy the cavity. So the female, you can see the beak of the female here and some excreta lying here. This is the sealed nest cavity. So that is how she She uses the sticky mud pellets supplied by the male and seals herself. So when that means every day she comes out and goes to the roost with the male. But there is one day when she has already sealed so much of the cavity entrance that she cannot come out, and that day she stays inside. The male waits her and near the nest till evening, and then he goes alone to the roost. I observed that, and the female tries to come out. I don't know whether it is instinctive behavior or what. And that day when she stays inside the cavity is considered as day one of the incarceration, and their further calculations are done according to this. So how does she sit inside? So this is a nest cut vertically, and this is from the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya or museum in Mumbai, and this is a great pied or great hornbill's nest, and this male is known as William, who stayed in Bombay Natural History Society's office for 22 years, where I work. So William is now telling us about how a hornbill nest is there, and this is a female and a chick, and this is how they sit inside the nest. Okay. So how is the breeding cycle of Indian grey hornbill completed? So stage one is the female. There is only female inside the nest, and on the day one or day two, she lays one egg. Day two, day three, then she keeps on laying eggs, and she stays with the eggs and incubates the eggs. So when the chicks hatch, the stage two starts. The female is there with chicks, and after that, the stage three starts when the female comes out of the nest or fledges. When she comes out, there is a gap of 3 days. When the nest cavity is open, the slit is not sealed, and chicks have to seal it within 3 days, otherwise they die. So they seal in 3 days, and the next stage, that is stage 3, is only chicks inside the cavity. So without any experience, the chicks will seal this nest. So these are 3 steps: female with eggs, female with chicks, and only chicks inside the cavity. And this takes how many days? I will tell you. So in the stage 1, the male alone feeds the female and chicks till the female is incarcerated until the day she comes out of fledges. So here you can see the male delivering a garden lizard to the female or the nest inmates. And we are spying on the nest. We have a net, and I'm collecting material from all the nests on the ground. Whatever is falling down, it is midday, and packing. So what I am getting? Among the material I am getting is molted feathers. That means the female is molting inside. These are the primaries, and these are the tail feathers or ecdysodes. And then I am getting pieces of bark and then eggshells. So when I find an eggshell under the nest, that gives me a good news that a baby is already born. So I don't have to really put a camera, but that doesn't give me a perfect date. Because you may not throw the eggshells out on the same day when the baby is born, or the nest or the egg is hatched. So I tried to compile the observations on incubation period, and there was a great variation because the female was not throwing all the eggshells out. The minimum I could get was 29 days when the female threw the eggshell out. That means the incubation period of Indian grey hornbill is less than 29 days. That's for sure. And the number of chicks fledged from the nest is also mentioned, 3, 2, 2, and these nestlings disappeared. So I found that the incarceration period, that means the number of days female keeps herself sealed, was around 65 to 70 days. This is the average from 12 nests. And the male keeps feeding her. See, you can see these pictures. And after that 65 to 70 days, the female comes out. She breaks the wall or the plaster. You can see the plaster which she has made using the sticky mud balls or mud pellets. She breaks it in 10 minutes. Actually, she doesn't break it completely. She breaks it to some extent, and then she comes out squeezing. So sometimes she is stuck in the entrance, and you feel like she is going to die. But she comes out. That's for sure. But it's a very painful exercise for the female. So she comes out, and once she comes out, she has already molted up feathers and regrown most of the feathers. But sometimes the tail is yet to grow. And she has lost weight, and because she did not fly for 65 to 70 days, she cannot fly properly, and she becomes very clumsy. In those moments, what happens is the male keeps feeding her, and besides feeding the chicks, and as soon as she recovers from that incarceration days, she also tries to forage. collect some food material and want to share the feeding for the chicks because she is the mother. So here she has brought a garden lizard for the chicks, and you can see the nest cavity is totally open. So these 3 days when the chicks have to reseal it are very dangerous because in three days any snake can just go and eat the chicks. Common myna and directly enters the nest, and also the chicks fall down because by instinct they are not trained to stay inside because the wall has to be there, otherwise they jump out and they die. So what I decided, I wanted to find out what is the contribution of the male and the female in feeding the chicks. So what I did was I observed the nest for 14 hours, like morning 5 a.m. the hornbill starts feeding, and evening 7 p.m. when the hornbills go to roost. So these 14 hours I sat in front of the nest, and my tiffin was delivered to my location, and I counted what the hornbills are delivering to the nest. So I found that the number of visits by the male were more, and the number of visits by the female were less. You can see here, and the contribution by male was far more than the female. But of course, the female was not in perfect physical health, and she was trying to do her best. So during my observations, I used various methods. One method was direct observation. So the calculation on food, what the hornbills ate, what the hornbills fed to the chicks, the 100% truth is what actually they have delivered. That's the 100% truth. So that really gives me the perfect data. Second is collecting mid-day, that is the excreta and everything else. But in the mid-day, the fig seeds, they are so microscopic, those not microscopic, so small that I cannot find out how many figs they have delivered to the nest, and so cannot calculate the percentage. So if I want to calculate the percentage, I have to calculate only from direct observation where I can see actually what foods are delivered to the nest, and this is the observation. This is from around 1,000 food items. So I found that the Ficus religiosa figs or people figs and Banyan figs constitute more than 70% of the diet of hornbills. Indian grey hornbills during the breeding season, 73%. And other food items constitute remaining 27%. That means these two species are known as, can be considered as keystone species. If you don't have people trees and banyan trees, it's nearly impossible that the hornbills will breed in your area. That is so important, and this is the result of more than 700 hours of observations by me. And I will just try to show some of the food items, whereas I have made a list of more than 45 food items in Nagpur city, and in the forest there will be more diversity in the diet. So this is people pigs, these are the banyan pigs. So these two make more than 73% of the diet of the hornbills. Then the cluster pig, like Ficus glomerata or buller, and the kirni is Manilkara alexandra. This is also very sweet fruit and edible, and I also like it. Then we have this Ixora parvifolia fruits and dare or Indian plum, then neem fruits. If there is a tree, the number of the percentage of these fruits in the diet is more if there is a tree nearby. So there was one nest where this tree was just nearby, so the hornbill fed more on it. And then guaiacum, the seeds of guaiacum are never found under the nest, so the seeds are also digested. So you cannot calculate how many guaiacum fruits they have eaten unless you directly observe it. This is one exotic plant, that is the Pithecylidium dulcea or the Bilati chinch. So this is also a favorite food of the hornbills. Besides palm fruits and shaitut fruits and Mimosops elingi, that is the bakul fruits. These are the fruits which are there, and the hornbills consume in good quantity. One more interesting item in the diet of hornbills is the poisonous fruits of yellow oleander. Not many birds feed on these. There is a small list of birds which feed on these, and one of them is Asian quail. Besides the hornbills, I have seen these two species feeding on them, but there are some species which are also reported to feed on these poisonous fruits. And I have written a paper on how they manage to eat only the pulp because the seed is so big. So they throw the seed from, they don't eat actually. They just squeeze the fruit in such a way that the seed is thrown out and they just eat the pulp. That's a very interesting mechanism of how they manipulate these big fruits. Whereas quail just bites off small pieces, tidbits from the pulp of this fruit, and there's no question of eating the seed for the quail. Here are some animal items in the diet of Indian hornbill. The major is which provides non-vegetarian diet and proteins to the chicks and the female during the courtship is the garden lizards, then the shells, then carpenter bees or the beetles, grasshoppers. These are the major food items which are supplied. Of course, there are other food items like the chicks of birds also are supplied. There is one very interesting food item, that is the leaf or leaves of Ailanthus excelsa. So the hornbills visit these and feed on these leaves. So this plant or maruk is a medicinal plant, and my mother used to give me this to kill the worms in my tummy when I was a kid. So this has an anti-helminthic property. So the hornbills feed on these, and even the male delivers these leaves to the nest for the female as well as for the nestlings. I have seen, later on I saw the hornbills feeding on the leaves of Shaitut or Morus indica, but of course this was in Uttarakhand, and I have seen all the entire flock feeding on these. Of course, Maruk also I have seen one entire flock feeding on this. And then my friend Tarun Balpande, who died 2 years back, he sent me photographs of hornbill feeding on papaya leaf. Many of you might be knowing papaya has got latex, and also that is, I suppose that is poisonous. So besides my study, I will say research is never complete. Even if you do PhD and 2 people or 3 people do PhD, still there are many things in nature which you will never find and somebody else will find. So my friend, one more friend sent me this picture of hornbills feeding on papaya fruits. Another friend, Ajay Gadikar from Indore, sent me photographs of hornbills feeding on wheat chapati. I don't know whether it is good or bad, but the hornbills are adapting when they are breeding in urban areas, and even they are feeding on chapatis. And this male was bringing chapatis and feeding it to the female and nestlings in Indore. And years published this beautiful finding. So what was the incarceration period? 65 to 70 days. The first chick came out around 93 to 98 days. And this is the chick or a fledgling. You can see there is no caste, and what the hornbill chick loves is sunlight. So it keeps on basking, takes sun bath, and also is very inquisitive. So it tries to bite everything, every branch, every leaf, whatever is moving, it will look around. Even if you are there watching at it, so it will look at you. So it's very inquisitive. So this is the hornbill fledgling, day 1 when it comes out of the nest. And I had the chance of rescuing and rehabilitating one hornbill chick, which was rescued by a friend in Nagpur. And luckily, we could reunite the hornbill chick with its parents after 3 days. 3 days, the hornbill chick was kept in my house. Every day, we were trying to locate the parents. After 2 days, third day, the parents came and found it and took it along with them. So that was a very nice experience. So in all, 16 nesting attempts of hornbills, and I found that only 15 chicks came out. 15 chicks fledged successfully. Though success rate in urban habitat is very low, and most of the time the chicks disappear when the female comes out and the nest slit is open. So the chicks fall off and die, or just disappear. But I found some dead chicks under the nest. One more question which I have, and which always intrigued me, was hornbills managed to clean the nest or keep the nest clean, because figs has got a lot of water content, heavy content of water. That's why hornbills don't drink water, because they feed on figs. And if they feed on figs, male hornbill is supplying so much figs to the female and to the chicks. That means they are getting a lot of water along with the fruit. So if they are defecating inside the cavity, they must be, there will be a slurry, and they will drown in that slurry of semi-solid excreta. But that's not happening. So how they are keeping the nest clean? So here is just how it happens. In cavity nesting birds, the nest is very dirty inside. In bee-eaters and kingfishers, so these make tunnels in the ground along the river bank. In sunbirds and robins, how they keep the nest clean? The excreta is released in a capsule, that is fecal sac, and parents take it in their beak and throw it far away from the nest. Third is open nest, like the eagles, they just squirt the excreta with a physical force and away from the nest. And some birds, the parents eat the excreta, like in crows, I have seen. And in some birds, though they can do something, but the nests are very dirty, though it's an open nest, like the rock pigeons, vultures, the nests are very dirty. So where are the hornbills? The hornbills should be here in the hole nesting or cavity nesting birds, like reeders and kingfishers. So considering the amount of these pigs, they should drown and die. We know a nest is not clean. It can attract ants and predators and finally they die. But what I have seen is, when we observed through video, proper video shooting and through binoculars, we found that the female, she was turning around and aiming with her anal aperture exactly on the cavity slit, which is a tiny slit, and then squirting or pumping it out with very powerful physical force, which may the excreta will go around nearly 10 feet. And even I found that the excreta is very acidic, and if it falls on me, I immediately suffer from itching. So I have to wash my hands immediately. So what we decided, we wanted to find the solution, and we studied the mid-dane for further answers. When I was studying or analyzing the mid-dane, I found that there were a lot of things. There were a lot of seeds, so we were observing, identifying seeds. I was taking help from botanists to identify the seeds and what is the percentage of each fruit in the diet. And when I was like segregating those seeds and taking pictures of those, I found that there were a lot of bark pieces in every packet of those mid-dane. And so I decided to segregate those bark pieces and photograph. Then I realized that on every piece of bark, the excreta was there, like this. And immediately we got an idea that there is some role for the bark pieces. So the next day when I went to our hornbill nest, we decided to observe properly. And what happened? We found that the hornbill was supplying bark pieces, and the female was, see the bark piece, and the female was throwing the bark pieces throughout the day from the nest. And as soon as she threw one bark piece out, what I did was I immediately picked it up and observed, and it had fresh excreta stuck on it. So this is the bark piece and the excreta. So that means the female was using the bark pieces. So what was the method of nest sanitation? So the male was supplying the nest inmates, that is either the female or even the chicks, with the pieces of bark throughout the nesting period. And what the female does, she must be doing this. Actually, you can't see without a camera. She breaks the bark pieces and drops it in the nest cavity, so on the floor, and the chicks are sitting there. So when the chicks defecate, automatically the excreta will stick on the bark pieces. Now you remember that when the male was giving female the bark pieces during the courtship, what she was doing was she was crushing it, and just it was becoming like powder. So the female was testing the properties of the bark piece. What she wanted was the bark pieces should have two properties. It should be crispy. That means the bark pieces, if they are crispy and dry, they will absorb maximum water from the excreta. And if it is dry and crispy, it will also adsorb. See, there are two things, absorption and adsorption. If the excreta will stuck on the surface and absorb the water content. That means so much of water being supplied into the nest through the pigs of Banyan and people is taken care of only with the supply of continuous bark pieces and throwing out of the bark pieces by the female. So that's how the female uses the bark pieces and keeps the nest clean. And this is a method we also presented about this in a hornbill conference. So the female tries to understand whether the male understands her requirements when she will be incarcerated, and that's why she crushed the bark pieces. And which bark pieces the male supplies. Actually, might be it is that depending on the availability, this may change, but I have seen that Azadirachta indica, mahogany, mango, these three trees, their bark pieces are supplied in more number. And if you check into Ayurveda books, you will find that these have got lots of medicinal properties like killing the worms, then not letting ants come in, like repellents, insect repellents, or insect repellent properties. So one more question was, why the hornbills breed in hot summer? Because in India, during March, April, May, June, it's a hot summer, like in hot summer. And especially in central India, the temperature will be more than 40 degrees. And even in Delhi, the temperature will be 35 to 40 degrees. Why they breed in hot summer? So what we were doing, we were trying to, we were recording the fruiting season of each species of trees in that study area. And we found that during the summer, maximum species have fruits. And especially the two important diet species, that is the people and banyan, and of course third, the Ficus glomerata, and the many fruiting trees, they have fruits in summer. So the hornbills prefers to tolerate the heat, but they want the fruits because they are very important for survival of the chicks. That's why they prefer summer for breeding. This is known as fruiting phenology. Let's have a look at social interactions among the hornbills. So I registered different types of social interactions. One was hornbill interacting with other species. Second was hornbill interacting with hornbills. So the same species. So I found this special social interaction. Of course, I have mentioned about the male and female grappling bills and pulling each other, but gently like kissing. Then there is another type of bill grappling among two male hornbills. So this is also bill grappling, but they pull each other very powerfully. They use a lot of strength. And what they do is every male will try to hold the perch firmly so that it doesn't fall down. And then when they fall down, what happens is they come swirling. They're swirling down, they come, and they fall down to the ground, still keep fighting. So here are some pictures. So you can see both are airborne here in these pictures. I am standing under the tree, nearly under the tree to get a picture. So this is known as aerial jousting. The first one was a bill grappling. So when both are airborne, that is known as aerial jousting. And when they hit each other, that is known as casque butting. So you can hear the thud noise. So these are two males, and so they are holding very firmly onto the perch. And because this male pulls him very, very strongly, this one gets dislodged. And because of the weight of this bird, the other bird also falls down. Both come down and fall to the ground. So here also you can see bill grappling, two male hornbills using a lot of paw strength. See how they have hold. They are holding the perches strongly. Two male hornbills. See the black faces, black skin around the eyes and tusks. These are beautiful pictures sent to me by an excellent birder and wildlife photographer from Delhi, Sri Vinod Goelji. He sent me these pictures from a garden. You can see the two hornbills already fallen down to the ground, still keeps fighting. So they are fighting, they are trying to hit each other. Here in this, you can see two hornbill females fighting. I could never get a picture like this. And they fell down to the ground, and you can see the crows and the mynas. They are taking a lot of interest in their fight and observing. Here are the hornbills. Both are females. See the color of their casque. I used to have ask this question to myself. So when they are fighting, what they do is they break a lot of branches. They break a lot of branches. So it's like they are saying, "Mere se panga mat lena, bahut taakat hai mere paas, mere jabde mein." So like that. So they keep. There was one kite hanging, and this hornbill male just went and broke the kite teared the kite into pieces. Okay, now we look at nest competition. There is severe nest competition because there are very limited cavities in cities. There are limited big trees because big trees are cut down. A lot of things are happening in cities, but of course there is a lot of new tree plantation happening. But of course there are many of the exotic trees are being planted. So anyway, I have seen there is a lot of competition because the number of parakeets has increased in cities, the number of common mynas has increased. So there is a lot of competition, and every nest cavity is already occupied. What the hornbills have to just dislodge these birds and take possession of this cavity till they complete the breeding. And I saw that every day these common myna and roosting parakeets come and inquire the female, when are you vacating? We also want to have babies. Every day these will come and inquire. So as soon as the female comes out, the myna enters the nest, even if the chicks of the hornbills are still inside. That is the hurry they have. They want the cavity anyhow. And the day when the last chick comes out, within half an hour, the cavity is occupied by the common mynas. For every nest, I have seen this. So the female here, you can see, and there is one bird which keeps on torturing the hornbills in cities. That is the crows, house crows and jungle crows. They're just like marauders. If the hornbills don't fly, they will just attack them and injure them. So you may get a lot of calls of rescuing hornbills from cities. And in Mumbai, I have seen Alexandrian parakeets also competing with the Indian grey hornbill for nest. I saw only one nest in Mumbai, and these are Alexandrian parakeets were troubling like anything. Then there are other birds. Of course, woodpeckers, they are the good birds in the sense they excavate the cavity. Those are the primary hole nesters. So they make the cavities like barbets and woodpeckers, and other birds enjoy. They stay in the cavities. So, but they also want the cavities. So they also compete. And the owlets, scops owls and spotted owlets, jungle owlets, they not only want the cavities for nesting, but also for roosting, daytime roosting. So there is competition. Then there is competition for food, because of course the food is in Nagpur. I found that the food was abundant, but the number of birds were also more. And in summer there is something happening. There are birds like these, like Asian quails competing. Coppersmith barbets are also nesting at the same time. Quails are also nesting, waiting, looking at crow's nest to lay babies, to lay their eggs. So they're also feeding around. The yellow-footed green pigeons are also around. Even in Nagpur city, I see flocks with starlings, and thousands of rosy starlings come in on their way back to north. So they also compete with hornbills. Of course, they don't torture hornbills, but they push off other birds, smaller birds like the Brahmini starlings and common mynas when they are feeding. Then bulbuls and even roosting parakeets feed on pigs. So these are all competitors to hornbills. The golden oriole, house crows, they also feed on figs. And there are two more competitors which I found in Nagpur in the same garden, in the same area. And these are the flying foxes or the large fruit-eating bats. So there are big colonies in Nagpur. So in the night, they are all flocking on these two trees. That is the people and the banyan trees. And then short-nosed fruit bats. There was one colony just near the hornbill nest. And every day I could see lots of X-ray fallen under this palm tree. And most of the content was pig seeds. So they also compete, but indirectly. So because they are temporally, they feed at different times compared to hornbills. So indirectly they compete. That means the resources, there is pressure on the resources. Anyhow, whoever is eating, the number of fruits is going down. And of course, the research is never complete, as I said. Again, I will mention the work by Ajay Gadikar. He found something very different, very interesting. And when the mating was happening during courtship, what he photographed was when the male mounted the female and mated with the female reciprocated. Female mounted the male and acted as if she is also mating. So why should boys have all the fun? That's it. That's the word I remember. I asked his permission to use these pictures and he happily gave it. Such a nice record. Of course, this type of behavior has been reported in many species. False mounting by females on males. And this is reported. Even I have seen in spotted owlets, both birds mounting on each other. Of course, there is no sexual dimorphism in spotted owlets. So I could not identify which is the male, which is the female. So there is more confusion compared to this. Here you can see very clearly what is happening. Two more pictures of the same incidents happening. And coincidentally, Mr. Goel from Delhi also photographed the same thing in Delhi. That means this is not a one-off event. This must be a serious matter. And it needs a lot of investigation into this. But this is a very interesting phenomenon. I'll congratulate these observers like Mr. Goel and Ajay Gadikar for these excellent observations and excellent documentation of Indian grey hornbill's life and natural history moments. two more pictures he sent me, very interesting pictures, which I could not click in during my entire research period. These hornbills bringing bird chicks and trying to feed to the nest inmates. That is maybe the female, it may be the chicks inside. So the hornbill brought parakeet chicks here, and in another attempt, the hornbill brought common myna chicks. In one incidence, we saw a common myna chick under the hornbill's nest. That means the hornbill could not give it through the slit, and it fell down. So that's the only thing I could observe during my study period. But of course, this is reported by a Britisher long back. One more very important thing Achakadikar found was the hornbills breeding in concrete wall. Of course, these Indian grey hornbills are now reported to breed in artificial nest boxes. That is a good thing. So we can help them in increasing their numbers. But they also started breeding in concrete walls. That is also a new finding, and that's a very important finding. He has published these. So I stop here, the presentation part, and this is a list of research papers I published. I published 3 books on Indian grey hornbill. So many research papers in international conferences. Here is a list and some short notes also. I published my thesis through Lambert, which is available. I'd like to say something about in my books. First I published the thesis, then I published my Marathi book on Indian grey hornbill, known as Mayur Daneshachi Bhupi. And this was published from Nagpur. And this book is dedicated to my friend, Dr. Anil Pimpalapure, who helped me and who was with me during the research nearly every day. So he is co-author in most of my research. This book was published during the Maharashtra Pakshi Mitra Sammelan 2 years back. And I think 2 months back, I published this book in English on Indian grey hornbill, Unraveling the Secrets, and it's available on Google Play Books. So if you are interested in understanding everything about this Indian grey hornbill in a simple language without the scientific terminology, you can read this book. It's an interesting read, and it's only an e-book. It's not available as a hard copy. I want to thank my supervisor, Professor Charde, Supervisor Dr. Tara, co-supervisor Professor Charde, and my friends, Dr. Anil Pimpalapure, and one more teacher, Gopal Rosa sir. They kept guiding me throughout and still guide me. So my friend, I want to thank my friends here, and those friends who came with me, and we could present our findings in the 5th International Conference, International Hornbill Conference in Singapore. And I stop here. Thank you all for being there and listening to me patiently. Ask questions. Over to Sagar. Hello, Sagar.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much for taking us into the insights of this marvelous bird. And yeah, I mean, let's take the questions from the participants now. So, first question here, sir, coming up. Is the cask used to form the seal of the nest?
To what? Can you repeat?
Is the cask used to seal the nest?
Yes, it is used to seal. It is used like a mason. So you just to put layers of mud on the both sides and keep a vertical seal, just like a mason, like a plumber or whoever is doing masons is doing. So the cask is very important. Yes. Then next.
Very interesting. Thank you, sir. And is there any kind of tree preference for nesting seen in hornbills?
I don't think so. I think the cavity is very important than the name of the tree, because all the nests were in different trees except Albizia, because Albizia is many times hollow. So they were, otherwise they were on different trees. So availability of cavity is more important than the name of the tree. That is what I think. But more data will prove something else. Might be. Next.
Very well, sir. And here is one interesting question. How do the birds ensure that the nests don't have maggots in them?
Yes, the hornbills keep supplying leaf matter, especially leaf matter which has got medicinal properties, like the neem, Azadirachta indica, and the maru. So this leaf matter has got a lot of medicinal property. So they keep supplying it. I think it works as an insect repellent and saves them. That's my theory.
Okay, sir. And what happens if one of the chick dies inside the nest hole?
If
Do
the
the
chick
female?
if the chick dies, the female will eat it, consume it, because
Oh,
she cannot waste of energy or the chick. It's a food. If it dies, okay. Even if there is an egg which does not hatch, the female eats, consumes the egg. In our
right, sir.
yes.
And do hornbills mate for life? Also, how does the female get water bay while being sealed in the nest?
I believe that they made for life, but there is no proof unless we do tagging. We cannot prove. At least I don't know. That's one. Second is water. As I mentioned in my presentation, the figs, the banyan figs, people figs, Ficus religiosa, glomerata, bengalensis, they have got a lot of water content. So hornbills don't need to drink water. They get a lot of water already. Yes.
Mm. Sir, is there any kind of nest fidelity seen in all these hornbills?
Yes, this I started this study in 2007, and I visited last year, 2019. After I think how many years? 15 years. Still all the cavities are being used by the hornbills. I don't know whether those are the same birds, but the cavities are being used. Might be they are their chicks, or might be they are the same birds. But all the cavities are being used, except the one where the tree was, uh, yeah, paid by the corporation. All nests are used, very fidelity. I 100%
Mhm.
fidelity, I will say. So every tree is important.
Oh, right, sir. And how do we know the female experiences pain when she finally leaves the nest?
Can you repeat the first
I
sentence?
think, how do we know the female experiences pain when she finally leaves the nest?
Oh, that's our feeling.
Okay.
We add our feelings. We can feel, we see stuck inside, we can feel that she must be having pain. But of
Right.
that, there are many people who think that pain and other terminology should not be used for animals. But
Mhm.
making the story interesting, we can always use it. I love it using. Okay.
Yeah. How does the female get water in incarceration?
That's what I said. The figs which are there, like ficus figs, banyan figs, they have got huge content of water. If,
Yes.
if the fruit analysis is done, it has got good content of water, so they get water from those. So she is not excreting water so much. So she keeps the water as per her requirement. Then only she excretes remaining part. Still, there is a excreta is semi-solid. Okay.
Yes, sir. And uh, when do hornbills feed parakeet and minor chicks? Aren't their parents paying attention? Wow.
No, hornbill has got a huge beak. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are parakeets on the nest, and the hornbill male goes to their nest and takes out the chicks, still the parakeets won't be able to do anything because the hornbill beak is so big, the parakeets get frightened. They just only keep creating ruckus. They just will shout and give alarm calls, but they can't do anything. The hornbill will just go and pick up the chicks. They can do it. They can do it.
Yes. And there's another interesting question is that, uh, as you mentioned, that first the female comes out and then both male and female, they both feed the chick. So
Yes.
once the female comes out, after how many days the chick comes out of the nest? How many
30
days
days,
for?
around 1 month. Around 1 month. They have to stay. Only chicks are inside one in around 1 month. And importantly, without any training, they have to seal the nest of themselves. So that is the instinctive. This is known as instinctive behavior. The male and female will bring mud pellets, and the chicks start sealing the nest cavity without any previous experience or without knowing what to do. They just start sealing it. So that's the instinctive behavior. Next.
Very well, sir. Here is a question from a student. Any instructions on how we as students can do research like you on hornbills or any other species of bird?
So, well, you select a species on which you want to do research, then take guidance from somebody, like any scientist from Bombay Natural History Society, or like I mentioned, wherever you are, there might be some senior bird watchers. Take guidance on what to do, the methodology to follow first. If you know the methodology, then you will collect proper data. If you have proper data, the analysis part, is secondary thing. But you must collect proper data, then only the findings will be perfect and scientifically reliable. But you need a guide, or you need to read a lot of books to understand if you don't have a guide. Yes.
Yes, sir. Where does the male live when the female is inside her nest during breeding or raising chicks?
The male goes back to the roosting site. So they have their roosting site, which they use throughout the year. Same place they go for roosting every day or every night, I will say. So when the female seals herself, the male goes back to the roost, and there are other males from other nests also coming to roost there. So they roost together. Okay. So if there are 5 nests, 5 males will be there roosting at the same place. Plus last year's chicks, which are not breeding, they also come and join them. So parents. So it's like a communal roost. Most of the hornbills do it. Even Malabar pied hornbill also known to roost communally. Next.
Yes, sir. And what is the lifespan?
I don't know. I don't know about Indian grey hornbill, but that is what tagging and if some studies are done properly with tagging, we can find out the lifespan. Or even in zoos, there is some data, but I am not aware of it. About
Yes,
Indian grey hornbill. Okay.
Yes. Can we know what hornbill have eaten from their pellets or their excreta?
Excreta, yes, but it depends. Like there are some fruits, even the seeds are digested, and there are many fruits the seeds are not digested. So from the excreta you can find out. I will say 95% of the diet you can find out. But non-vegetarian diet, like if it consumes a lizard, entire lizard, nothing comes out, no bones. So you won't get any proof. But fruits, you will get the seeds. So that from the seeds you can identify what are the fruits it has consumed, not the animal diet. And like I said, gaicum, one of the fruits which I mentioned, gaicum. So nothing comes out. And the yellow oleander, the hornbill eats only the pulp because the seed is too big. So if it consumes yellow oleander, nothing will come out in the excreta. Next.
Yes, sir. And is there any reason behind why females have smaller calves and males have the bigger calves?
I really don't know. But they had sexual dimorphism, and the purpose might be this only the sexual dimorphism.
Yes, sir. And so shall we take one last question for the night?
No issues. Yeah, welcome.
Is there any particular method for census of hornbills?
Yes, they use trails like line transits. That's the only method of being used in forests. And Indian grey hornbill is found in cities also. In cities you can't do. I don't think line transit is the right method because it will be found only in gardens and wherever there are trees. So if you keep walking on highway, nothing will happen. You won't find anything. So that the line transit method is good for forests and for killing species. I don't know what should be the method for Indian grey hornbill in cities. Okay.
Yes, okay. So there are a lot of questions coming up, but because of the lack of time, we cannot take all of them. So I think everyone can put their questions in email, send us an email, and I'm sure we will answer all the questions. And thank you very much, Raju sir, for your time and
Thanks,
for
Sagar.
the
Thanks.
valuable knowledge. Valuable. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Sagar.